I was doing an internship with that summer, and I'm actually doing essentially the same job now as I was then, because I was just shadowing my boss, who has what my role is now. And we were doing these road surveys. Essentially, we'd have random blips on the GPS. We'd go out, mark out 500 feet of road, and say if there's potholes that need filled, if there's signs that are covered, if the paint on the road is not visible, things like that. Just it was to see what condition each county's roads were in. And so I was off on the side of the road, had all my reflective gear, lights on my truck on, had the wheel out the 500 feet of road, and I got like a car length away. All of a sudden, didn't see it, didn't hear it coming. This old lady came off the road, off the shoulder, hit me, broke my leg, spun me around, my head cracked her windshield. It threw me off into a ditch, and she apparently kept driving.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Bass with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Triumph Every Day. We discuss the journeys that shape the lives of our guests and how it brought them to where they are today. And today we have Mr. Zachary Reichert. Welcome, Zach. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Good. Zach is one of the few people who has listened to every single one of these podcasts.
I have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, along with the other millions of listeners. I mean,
yeah.
The millions of listeners. If you added up all the listens and all the views of everything we've ever done, we might have 1 million.
Yeah, I got
photo views.
Between the programming previews and these, I get the notifications on my phone, and normally I'm just sitting at work, and I got 2 monitors, so I just have
there you go.
some podcasts on, so it might as well have you guys.
Working diligently.
Of course. Yeah, like every government employee.
Solving the world's problems.
Solving the world's problems. Zach, where are you from, man?
I'm from here, Campbell County, but yeah, I grew up. My dad lived in Fort Thomas, and my mom Highland Heights, right by NKU. So I could throw a football from my parents' house to NKU. So
Highland Heights is like God's country if you're from there, isn't it?
I don't know.
I know, and a lot of people talk about it like it's the most special place on
earth. I mean, I loved it. I mean, just this whole area I love, because I'm 10 minutes from middle of nowhere where I can sit in the woods and be by myself, or I'm 10 minutes from a decently sized city. So
yeah.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that was one of the draws to like most Midwest cities.
Yeah.
Honestly, even New York. I remember taking a train, like a 30-minute train ride from New York City up to Catskill, New York, which was like, it was called Bear Mountain, and it's like it literally looked like you're in the middle of nowhere. It looked like you were like in the Tennessee mountains.
Right.
And you're like, this doesn't feel like it should be that close to one another.
Yeah.
It was just weird. You went to U of L?
I did.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. What'd you go down there for?
I went to study civil engineering. I graduated high school in 2012 and then graduated from U of L in 2016.
Graduated from 2012. How old are you?
Yeah, 24.
Oh,
so young,
man.
These
mature.
Old guys in here.
Yeah.
Feeling old. Feeling real old. I remember getting my first yearbook in the year 2000 in high school. That was fun.
Yeah, I would have been first grade, so.
Oh my God. That's weird. That's just weird. All right, so civil engineering.
Yes.
What was that? Just always a draw for you? What is civil engineering? I guess.
So civil engineering is roads, bridges. It can even go as far as like landfills, water treatment, infrastructure. Essentially, is what it is. So I work for the Transportation Cabinet of Kentucky. So I'm on the road side of things, but it can. Yeah, you can pick a discipline to really get into, and I picked transportation because I had a scholarship through the Transportation Cabinet, so I knew I had a job there when I graduated.
Yeah.
So that was where I was headed starting out.
Is engineering something you were always like?
I was always really good at math and science, and I remember even in like 6th grade, they started giving us the career aptitude tests.
Mm-hmm.
And say it gave you 5 things, at least 3 of mine were always engineering, mechanical, civil, anything really. And I was between mechanical and civil when I was picking colleges, and then when I got this Transportation Cabinet scholarship, I was like, all right, there's my decision.
Yeah.
I was already between a couple, so that just really pushed me
And what kind of is there one thing you enjoy dealing with more? Because I feel like it's like, oh, we're pouring blacktop, and the intricacies involved with that versus, oh, we're building a bridge.
Yeah, it's definitely different. When I was in high school, I took the couple engineering type classes that they offered, which was really just drafting, like designing things, and I liked that. But once I got to college and got more in the real world on co-ops, I went more towards the construction side of things, because I came to realize that no matter how well you design something, nothing ever works out in the real world like it is on paper. So I liked being the guy that was hands-on and figuring things out in the field, rather than saying, here, I designed this, now go build it, whether it's like you think it is or not.
Right. That my not that it's any sort of the same thing, but we always used to really, really enjoy just building things and getting hands-on. I feel like growing up, you probably were very hands-on, learning by doing something.
Definitely, yeah. I'm still somebody, like, even all through college, learning. If somebody's just lecturing to me, I was awful. There was a couple of classes where I knew the professors were going to be terrible at not doing any examples, just lecturing, and I would go if there was an attendance grade, but if not, I would just teach myself on my own, because I have to be doing the problems, or watching YouTube videos. You can YouTube anything nowadays. I was YouTubing 400 level classes just to watch problems going through instead of just somebody talking to me. I definitely have to be actually doing it to comprehend.
Yep. I know there's a couple times I just remember taking apart, my grandparents had this, one of those big, I don't know if you've ever seen them, it was like a record player 8-track stereo combo, but it was in this really long, it was almost like a piece of furniture by itself. The top flipped up and you could play records and stuff. I just remember taking the whole thing apart. It wasn't like, hey, this is junk. I just took it apart.
Right.
And and you kind of figure out how it works, and I'm 11. I'm trying to put it back together. Not very successfully, but it was the same kind of thing. It was like, I want to figure out how this works and what makes it tick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely the same way. I mean, that How It's Made show is, I love it, because it's just the exact same thing. I'm the same way. Even now, if something's messed up with, I bought a condo last year, so now it's the first time where if something breaks, I'm like, okay, I got to try and fix this, because I'm not going to pay somebody to do it. And I'll take apart a dishwasher, and then I'm like, okay, I figure out how it works, but now can I actually put it back together? I can comprehend how it works, but it's whether I can actually do it or not.
You just get done. There's a pile of screws. That just means they use too many parts.
Exactly. That's they over-engineered it. That's
they over-engineered it. It still works, right?
I built a birdhouse one time.
Was it
all by myself?
Did the birds use it?
I don't think. I want to say it was so good that my mom decided to store it for safekeeping.
Store it for safekeeping in the trash.
Yeah.
Speaking of civil engineering, I used to work for the Park District in Cincinnati, Hampton County Park District. I feel like I distinctly remember one time them putting out birdhouses where they would put them throughout the park, and I feel like they use a corrugated metal for the top, which basically turns it into an oven.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about didn't think that through very well, did we?
No.
We got a bunch of hard-boiled eggs, I guess, in the little robin egg. So that was kind of it was a little fun.
Maybe it was population control. Maybe they knew what they were doing.
Too many cardinals in the state. It's our state bird. Too many cardinals in the state. So, anyways, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Going back to U of L, right?
Yes.
You stayed all 4 years.
Yep.
Is that where you met
Katie? Yes.
Katie, yeah, your now fiance.
Yep. Yeah. So she went to Boone County High School, so we were only 20 minutes apart. But yeah, I didn't know her in high school at all. We met.
So you're 2 years apart?
What's that?
Did you say you're 2 years apart? Is that what you
No, I said we graduated at the same time. I said she lived in Boone County, so 20 minutes.
20 minutes apart. Sorry.
20 minutes apart.
Yeah.
But we started having classes together freshman year, but we didn't. That's when a lot of people haven't dropped out or switched majors yet, so engineering is a lot bigger.
Right.
And you're with all the other engineers, the mechanical and whatever, all the other ones. So we were in classes together, but I didn't actually start to get to know her until sophomore year of college. But yeah, she was the brainiac. Her and her two friends were the real smart ones that me and my two friends would ask for help on homework and studying, and really just, we knew they'd get it done, and we'd wait and say, hey,
Perfect.
Can you help us with this?
How'd y'all meet?
It was in college. Yeah, it was in one of our classes. Engineering is a lot of not social people.
I was going to comment on that. I'm glad you cut the ice, because
it's
I've met a lot of engineers over the years, and usually the social brainiac dynamic isn't always a combination.
Yeah, in engineering, nobody really cares about tests and stuff as much, but if you have to give a presentation, even if it's just 2 minutes long, people start shaking and people get nervous. But so
not that really
exactly.
Well,
So that's how me and my group of 5 friends, and we had a group text called Back Left, because we sat in the back left of every classroom, and it was the other 5 people that were good at talking to people and not freak out in social situations, and like to party and stuff. So
yeah. So how'd you convince her to go out with you?
How much do you have to bear?
It was a slow play, because we didn't start dating until after I graduated. She stayed an extra year for her master's, and yeah, I had a kind of a rule after some past relationships that, like, I don't date anybody that I have to see every day, whether it's work or school, like, in case things go bad, it's not just awkward,
right,
awful. So we were friends, and I mean, I always thought she was cute and stuff, and I always thought she was too good for me, because she killed it in class. She was running marathon, like, she was just super impressive.
I'm gonna chime in there.
Yeah.
All of our significant others are too good for us.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, and so she just, luckily for me, she just happened to stay. She had a couple short relationships, like, throughout that time, but yeah, she was single when I graduated, and I was like, all right, now.
Shoot shut.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, on graduation night, we were out at a bar, and we just happened to make out, and I was like, all right, I'm see what happens here. And
you want another shot?
Yeah.
That's the engineering before our presentation, right? You gotta get a couple drinks in you. Don't get nervous.
Yeah.
There you go. That's pretty awesome.
I'm curious from just, we can move on after this or whatever, but there's different, obviously, ways to go with engineering, whether it's chemical, mechanical, civil. Is there kind of a hierarchy of engineering? You know what I'm trying to say is like one kind of viewed harder than the other.
They're definitely just different types of people. So
sure.
In like computer engineering is your typical, I'm very generalizing here obviously, but when you think of nerd, pocket protector and stuff like that's when you think of a computer engineer normally.
Sure.
And then chemical and bio are just more the people that are, I don't know, I'd say more into the medical side of things. A lot of times people will go pre-med.
Like a chemistry.
Exactly. And then mechanical and civil, especially civil, if you're working in civil, a lot of times you're going to be working in more of a blue collar atmosphere, because you're in construction a lot of times. So a lot of times those are the people that attract to civil, is I want to be outside dealing with actual things that are happening instead of just designing parts on the computer or something like that. So
and that's something you enjoy more, being outside,
hands-on.
People aren't like scared of bugs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
how close is the Brent Spence Bridge to dropping into the Ohio River?
How many times, first of all, do you get this question? Second,
what do they say? Everybody at the state says the same thing. It's falling apart. It's not falling down.
Excellent.
So you don't have to worry. I mean, I'm not on the clock right now, so I'm not. Don't take this from as a state employee telling you anything. But we always.
Zach Reichert's
off the record.
Does not
the
represent.
Title of this,
exactly.
The title of this episode will be Zach.
Zach Reichert's fired. That's what. No, but the bridge deck itself, they did just do some repairs on it last year.
Of that,
I mean, it was $20 million worth of work, but I mean, it's just not in a good.
What
it's
is
not going
the-
to fall down if that.
what's
is
the
how
long-term
last year
play?
was.
What's the I don't want to say the holdup, but like what's the kind of thought process about what they want to do? Because I know obviously you're stuck, right? You have to the left, you'd run right into the Radisson. On the right, there's a Duke Energy kind of subplant, which you have space on the Kentucky side, but they would have to obviously reroute everything, build a whole new bridge, tear that one down. So is that kind of the trying to decide the best way to go about doing so?
Yeah, I'm not in the planning side of things. I'm in the construction side, so I really don't. From what I've heard, it is just trying to get the funds, because we need federal funds for that. Like just kind of like how they did in Louisville with the new bridge that went down there. It'll probably be the same type of thing. There'll be tolls and, but yeah, it is just kind of a weird situation that there's the Ohio side on the left, you're good, or vice versa. Both sides of the don't want to fix the problem that there is, and they just. But the funding, I think, is the biggest holdup. Is just, I mean, when you're building a whole new bridge, it's
the crazy part is
billions of dollars.
Yeah,
the crazy part is it's not like 471 where you go across the Big Mac Bridge and it's just like there's a dusting of cars.
Oh, right.
Like I think the numbers behind that were originally it was 3 lanes top and bottom with shoulders, and it was something like 30,000 cars a day, and now it's 4 lanes, no shoulders, 100,000 cars a day.
Yeah.
So, and it just goes to show like how much it's being used as a main thoroughfare.
Right.
For, it's like 75 is north to south, all the way, basically all the way down to the Panhandle.
Well, that's part of the reason why structurally it can take any loads that we're putting on it at all. That's why you don't have to worry about it falling down. It's just some of the pavement, a lot of that traffic is heavy trucks. Yeah. And when you have so much heavy truck traffic at high and low speeds, whether there's traffic or not, the pavement gets beat up. And so that's what, every once in a while there are some things that fall down, and it's because the pavement can't take it, but the bridge itself is totally fine.
If you guys get a chance, next time you go northbound on 75, on the bottom side of the bridge, look up.
Oh, yeah.
Just look up. I won't tell you what's there. Just look up.
No comment.
Zach knows it's there. Just take a look up and you can go, oh, all right. This went to Home Depot, huh? That's cool. So what kind of really exciting? I mean, there's probably some really cool stuff you get to see over the past couple of years. I know you were on the underside of the bridge.
Yeah. So I've just been, I guess, 6 or 7 weeks ago, I started a new position. So I used to be on the material side of things, so checking quality of the asphalt and concrete and all the aggregate and cement and stuff that we use for the projects. And then I've transitioned back into construction that I was doing in Louisville before I moved back up here. So now I'm on more of the actually from when we break ground on a job to when it's finished. I'm out there figuring things out with contractors and the public and all kinds of stuff. So, but in between those two positions, I was hanging out with the bridge guys for a while who do the inspecting of all the bridges, whether it's a little culvert in Gallatin County that gets 12 cars a day all the way up to the Big Mac Bridge. That's one of the most used. And so that was cool. Once a year we have to go through with the Ohio Transportation Cabinet and their Department of Transportation and walk the bridges with their engineers. We have inspectors that go through and do like really detailed stuff, but we as engineers just go through it once and say who's going to fix what. This is problems, areas that we see that we need to.
Is it like who, as far as like it's Kentucky's problem or Ohio's problem?
Yeah, it varies bridge to bridge who is responsible for what, and sometimes they'll go up to a certain, like this third is to Ohio, and then we take care of the rest, and it kind of depends. And I'm not sure logistically, bridge to bridge, who does what.
Who takes care of most of the roadway?
I couldn't tell you honestly.
I feel like it's got to be a Cincinnati thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I was only hanging out with them for a month, and it was just to do the fun stuff out in the field, and so I don't know as much of the actual logistics of who does what.
Have you ever been across the Brooklyn Bridge? I mean, I
haven't.
You haven't?
No.
You do like? Do you know that that's the?
Yeah, it was like their practice run.
Yeah, it's the practice run for the Brooklyn Bridge. It is really cool when you see both of them. And you're like, oh, Like it's basically like two Roebling side by side with a walkway down the middle.
Right.
It's pretty cool to see. I love that bridge. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was really cool to go up in all those. Big Mag especially, because you're just standing on top of an arch and you're tethered off, but I mean, you could still fall off. There's no rails or anything up there.
Right.
So, and the way the bridge, if a bridge isn't moving, it's in bad shape. Like a bridge is supposed to flex and move
Right.
in
So
every
you're feeling it?
dimension. Mm-hmm. So when you're up there, if you look over at the other arch, it can be as much as like a foot to 2 feet give.
Yeah.
So if you're just standing there, you might not feel it, but if you're looking over, you can see them going up and down, and you don't see them as much side to side, but up and down especially flexing.
It kind of freaks me out whenever if you ever been on traffic on a bridge, and like, you know,
it hops. Yeah.
I'm just like, but mentally I'm like, I know it's supposed to do that,
Right.
but I'm just waiting for the floor to give out.
It's even crazier when you're underneath a bridge on like the catwalk that we walk across to inspect beams and stuff. And I mean, you can tell when there's a semi that you might be on the middle of the bridge. You can feel when a semi gets on the beginning, and it just gets worse. It doesn't shake I mean, it shakes, but it's not violent or anything. It just vibrates pretty bad, and you're like, oh, there's obviously a very heavy truck.
Stuff's super interesting to me. It's like I nerd out on that for forever. It feels like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one time I used to be super into dominoes, and
yes, you used to.
and
go ahead.
Thank you, Jared. This is my story. I used to be in the dominoes in elementary school. I had my own private desk, and I would set them up, and I would build bridges using rulers, very technical stuff, to other desks.
I like it.
So I thought you were going to say building them at a Domino's. Like, that'd be super impressive.
No, I'd set the dominoes up, and then once I would configure my design, I would just simply touch one of the dominoes, and then they would knock all the elements down.
Do you remember?
It's very satisfying.
Big stuff. I've never.
Do you remember the domino?
I think I could have a future in engineering. Just throwing it. What?
Do you remember the domino setter? It was like a little car. You they put like a magazine of dominoes in it, and it just rolled along and set them down one by one. Yeah.
No.
What?
I used to have one. It was awesome.
Man,
I'm
YouTubing that as soon as we get done.
It would only be straight lines.
Right.
But you could just like, oh well, I'm gonna work on this part, and little robot guy, you do the rest of that.
That's cool. No, I've never even heard of that.
Wasted so much time.
I know.
So, anyways, we talk about that forever.
Tangents.
Yeah, tangents. We talk about.
See how I button
I
that
made a
one up?
trebuchet once out of cardboard and duct tape. That was a college project. That was an engineering project.
On that real quick, I did that my senior year of high school.
Talk about catapults.
We
for a while.
we built trebuchets in my engineering design class, and we built them out of wood and stuff, and they were legit. I mean, it was a big ordeal, and my group, our design, it looked flawless, and on the program that we designed it on, it worked every time. And I don't know, it was whatever
happened in the real
whatever
world.
held the ball
What had
to
happened
launch.
was-
It didn't remove, like when we let it go, it wouldn't let go of the
stuck,
ball
yeah.
enough. So it launched backwards, but it launched backwards far enough that we were just like, all right, we'll just turn this thing around, and we still got to be on the an A or a B on the thing. And
Count it.
Something doesn't like all of them are angled this way,
Yeah.
and then Zach's team's like this way. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. It's how it's supposed to
Exactly.
be.
But we didn't realize we didn't practice shoot it. We didn't have time to practice shoot it, so we had 3 attempts, and on the first 2, they both shot backwards. So we're just like, all right, last attempt, let's spin this baby around. And
I feel like that'd be like a Monty Python moment where it's just like we're like in the middle of a war and keep shooting back. All right, wheel it around.
yeah,
Finish is forward.
people were not happy with us because there's some people that didn't shoot it. Theirs didn't shoot at all, and we were like, well, our spit shoots backwards. I mean, it
There you
still
go.
shoots projectile. But anyway.
So past bridge engineering and stuff like that, where ideally would you like to see all this kind of take you later on? President of something?
Oh, it just got serious.
Is there a president
real
of engineers?
What are your passions?
No, not president. I couldn't. No, not at all.
You're not that responsible.
No, not at all. I don't want to be. They say that whatever. There's already something in your past that's ruined your chances of an election. I have plenty of those. So that,
And I mean, we're getting to the point real
Yeah,
quick.
Your
the
whole
next,
life's documented.
The next, like,
yeah.
I'd say probably the next 2 presidents. Within the next 2 presidents are really going to be screwed. Like,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
social media is just
Yeah.
infiltrated. Like,
Look at this guy's
my
Instagram.
time hop.
Yeah, Instagram story from.
Like
Yeah.
a time hop comes up and like I forgot like I still have a Twitter account and it'll pull up old tweets and I'm like,
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No one can see those. Anyways, so where would you like to go?
When did you get hit by a car? What? Who said that?
Yeah. Well, I'll come back to that.
All right.
But I don't know. I'd like to say in engineering. There was a time about a year or so ago I got my personal training certification, and I started doing a little bit of that on the side, and I was like, maybe I'll stick with my day job until that I want to turn that into something. But the more I've realized that fitness is just a hobby for me. I don't want to turn it. I don't think I want to turn it into a career. But
but that's the nice thing of where you're at. You know, you do see a lot of my sister-in-law. You know, has a job that she loves, but she also does some teaching, some coaching on the side, stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with having your hobby that involves something that you really enjoy doing. So, but yeah, I want to. Can you pull up your pant leg real quick and just show us?
Oh yes, this is what we've been waiting for.
so yeah, I got
Put that up on the table there. So what are we looking at here?
I got my bone came out, my tibia came out right there.
You guys have visualized. Maybe I'll drive
And
on the
then,
screen.
I got screws down here and up here. And then, I got a scar from where they put my rod in. And if you can see, I got these little bumps here.
Those are extra muscles.
And a man.
I wish. That'd be pretty sweet.
Those are extra muscles
If I
they
could
put
jump
in.
just on my right leg real good. But
So what happened, man? What?
I was about a week and a half out of high school. And because I had the scholarship through the transportation cabinet, I was doing an internship with that summer. And I'm actually doing essentially the same job now as I was then, because I was just shadowing my boss, who has what my role is now. And we were doing these road surveys, essentially. We'd have random blips on the GPS. We'd go out, mark out 500 feet of road, and say if there's potholes that need filled, if there's signs that are covered, if the paint on the road is not visible, things like that. Just it was to see what condition each county's roads were in. And so I was off on the side of the road, had all my reflective gear, lights on my truck on, had the wheel out the 500 feet of road, and I got like a car length away. All of a sudden, didn't see it, didn't hear it coming. This old lady came off the road, off the shoulder, hit me, broke my leg, spun me around, my head cracked her windshield. It threw me off into a ditch, and she apparently kept driving.
Damn.
Yeah.
Savage.
Yeah. She.
I'm sorry to laugh.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
I mean,
She was going 40 miles an hour. It's not like
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I envision like something out of like a Jim Carrey movie from the 90s.
Yeah,
It was just
yeah.
Like the woman can't see over the steering wheel.
Yeah,
that's what-
it's like there's a Jerry
what was that, a
Seinfeld.
bird?
Yeah,
There's a Jerry
yeah.
Seinfeld bit where he talks about the state flag of Florida should just be a steering wheel with two knuckles on top of it. There's just no head. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it was crazy because, I mean, I started on Monday and this happened on Friday.
Oh,
so it was
welcome.
my first week of work. And
here's your sign.
yeah. And I started doing that job on Wednesday, and then Friday morning it was the first place I went. I was by myself. It was the first day I was by myself. I was doing everything perfectly because it was my first day by myself, and I was still everything exactly by the book. And in previous days, if we heard cars or seen cars coming, you turn around and give them the wave or whatever, and just acknowledge that you see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this lady, I don't know. She didn't hear her. Didn't
So
see it, just,
okay, so you're in a ditch.
yeah.
Like you unconscious or you?
I must have. I don't know. I mean, I must have gone unconscious for a second because I remember the impact, and then next thing I know, I was in this ditch, and it's not a deep ditch or anything. It was just right off the side, on a couple feet deep or whatever, and
Kind of like a runoff or something like that.
yeah,
weren't-
essentially,
weren't
it was
like-
just a drainage ditch.
Yeah.
It was all it was.
You weren't hanging off a cliff by one hand.
Yeah, no. I
Like
wish that
shirtless
would
with ripped, muscles
well, then a
everywhere.
bear came out of
Yeah.
nowhere and he just started mauling me.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
fighting him off.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah,
All right,
but I remember coming to, my phone was in my truck because instantly I was like, there's not really anybody out here. There's one house right across the street, and that was all there was.
Right.
And it was like 9 a.m., so I was like, there's not going to be anybody here. So I was like, I'm going to have to... I couldn't see because this eye was like swollen shut. My right eye, my left eye had blood all in it, so my head was cracked open. So I couldn't see anything. I didn't have my phone, so I just was like, all right, I'll yell for help once. And I yelled, and luckily the one house that was right across the street was this old retired guy who had already called the ambulance. They were on the way, and he said, I came out because I thought it was two cars. It was that loud. Like he said the impact was so loud he thought it was two cars.
I heard you like.
So when he looked outside and didn't see anything because she drove off and I was like right over, she was like, I was confused. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy.
Did they ever catch up with that lady? Like.
Yeah. So they. Funny story on that. One of my friend's dad just happened to be the first person to like find her. She was pulled off the road about a mile down the road because when she when she hit me, either when she hit me or when she came off the road, it popped one of her tires. So she had a flat. So she was stopped.
How old was she?
I think she was 73 at the time.
Can we just have a general consensus that when you hit retirement, you got to retake your driver's test?
Yeah, I'm under the firm belief that at a certain point, at least once every 2 years, you should have to take.
I feel like it's like a passport thing. Get your passport renewed.
Yeah.
Go take a driver's test.
Yeah. And apparently she was just taking. She was on a lot of medications. She was taking too many of some and not enough of others, and it wasn't malicious. She was just
right, but still.
But yeah. I mean,
that's
why we like with the court case and stuff. We didn't go after her. Besides that, she couldn't have a license. That's all I cared about. I was like, I'm not trying to ruin this old woman's life.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, terrible things do happen. When I worked at a camera store, one of the guys was diabetic and didn't monitor it well. Mm-hmm. He was type 1, so genetic one, and just didn't monitor it well, and was on his way home and went into a diabetic coma, and hit an oncoming car, killed one of the passengers, and talk about just a terrible, somewhat accident. I mean, I don't want to say it was negligence on his part because I don't really know exactly what happened, but it's just a terrible accident.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I was obviously very lucky. Like, she had me going 40, and all I had was a compound fracture. My head cracked the windshield.
My head broke my fall.
Yeah, my head cracked the windshield, and I didn't even have a concussion.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was in the ambulance. I had to stay conscious, and they couldn't give me pain meds on the way to UC Health from Dayton, Kentucky, because they have like the best trauma center.
Yeah.
So the ambulance took me there, and because they assumed I was concussed, they couldn't let me fall asleep, so they couldn't give me pain meds or they pass out. Yeah. So I was fully conscious with my bone sticking out of my leg, and every little crack in the road was like it
jarring.
Was breaking again. It legitimately felt.
Yeah.
That was the worst part because the actual impact, I don't really remember it. I just remember like what the hell happened, and I was in shock. So once I was in the ambulance, like, okay, I'm gonna live, but now the pain is actually starting to kick in.
Certainly.
That was.
So what was your recovery look like from something like that?
I went,
obviously surgery.
I had surgery, and I was out of the hospital. I had surgery Friday afternoon and was out of the hospital by Saturday evening. They just needed the beds, and they were like, "You're young and you have a broken leg." So all
your bosses are like, "Look at this guy.
Yeah,
comes in, already goes on workers' comp."
Yeah, well, that's what
this guy's getting a scholarship.
One of my that was the last time I worked for the district up here until I just came back last June when I moved back up from Louisville. Mm-hmm. So when I moved back up here, I'd introduce myself, and
you're the guy.
I had met him. If I said, "Oh, I'm the guy that got hit," they're like, "Oh, that was you," and like so. Yeah, at this point, now that I'm good, like, one, it's a hell of a story, and yeah, I'm famous at work because everybody's like, "You're that guy that worked here for a week." And
so strong.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy, man. That is a obviously very unique and you know, pretty crazy story, man. And
It's just too bad you didn't get it on video.
I know.
Imagine
I wish
you had
I
like
had,
a dash cam or
they
something.
wouldn't, because my phone was in the car, in my truck, and I was in the ambulance with no phone. And I asked the ambulance guys, because I was in a neck brace, when they cut my jeans off and my had the compound fracture, I hadn't seen it, and so I never got to see it. I wouldn't have wanted to see it then, but I asked if they could take a picture, but they were like, they weren't allowed because, and I was like, I mean, that makes sense. But
Right.
yeah, I get it.
I'd be able to look. I'd like to be able to look back now and be like, oh wow, like that was what it looked like, type of thing. But
Zach, what's your home screen? Oh, that's whatever.
Got hit by a car. Like,
yeah,
it was a Buick.
Buick came out of nowhere.
Oh, that's crazy, man. That's absolutely crazy. So you've been with us at Triumph here for some time now. You've kind of gone through this, like, I don't say like a sea change, but you've changed the way you've trained.
definitely.
You started out like you've grown out.
Oh yeah,
You
that
know?
was typical bro.
Right.
Yeah, so I started working out after my accident. That's what got me. I had been to the gym in high school before, but I never consistently at all. And then after my accident, I was always like the chubby kid growing up, and I was never strong. And then in high school, I worked for the Reds, selling cotton candy and snow cones. So that was a lot of activity. I leaned out and was in decent shape, just conditioning wise, when I graduated. And then after that accident, not only was I not doing anything and on a bunch of painkillers that whole summer, but my friends, I mean, doing the friendly thing, were bringing me any food and stuff that I wanted. So I was eating Skyline and Burger King and everything for like every meal all summer. I thought it was great. And then when I got up and started walking to class and stuff, I was like, I'm out of breath just trying to walk.
Right.
And I've put on like 30 pounds this summer. So once college started, I started lifting with my buddies from high school. And yeah, they were football players, so they...
Well, and again, you don't know what you don't know. And there's not really anything wrong with that.
Right.
It's just a lot of people start to get in that, like Mark and myself, we get into that plateau range of like, well, I'm bored.
Right.
You know?
Well, the biggest thing for me was, so we started working out. They played football, so they were unbelievably stronger than me, but they always did squats for football and stuff, and they hated them. So once we got to college and they weren't having somebody tell them what to do, my leg was still healing. So we were only doing upper body, and I was like, this is great. I was like, I was like, the only exercise my leg needs right now, because it was still healing, was just walking across campus. So I was like, just trying to get rid of this limp, and then I'll maybe start doing legs. And then that didn't happen for 4 years. So when I came here,
jacking at a cane.
when I came here, I was benching like 50 pounds more than I could squat, which is obviously not the way it's supposed to be. So,
what made you come here?
So when I lived in Louisville, I had friends that I always went to the gym with, and that was what really kept me in it. Was I liked working out, but it was an hour a day in the middle of my engineering studies that I could just go hang out and bro down, essentially. Yep. And when I moved back up here, I tried out a couple different gyms, LA Fitness down in Bellevue, and I don't know, I bounced around, just didn't really like it, so I was looking for something different. And I followed a few YouTubers that did CrossFit, had went from bodybuilding to CrossFit, and I was like, oh, they were just like me, thought you guys flailing around on the kipping pull-ups. I was like,
that's all we do.
What are these guys doing? This isn't working out. You're not even doing pull-ups. Like,
right.
And they switched their mindset around. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. And so that's what, like, between the documentaries and just YouTubers, I was like, oh, okay.
One of those, we were talking about Every Second Counts. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's from the 2008 CrossFit Games, and like Mark said, like, we watched it and it was like, well, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Like, and again, those guys are, we are light years, literally, we are now 10 years from those games, and it's laughable almost what they're doing there. Like, that's a normal day for some people, you know, and now, they've elevated that level of competition to a pretty, peak physical condition every sense of the word, and now they've changed it to you've got these qualifiers, right? And the crazy thing we talked a little bit about with Mr. Zoda on the last podcast, but you have 162 countries, and you're taking 2 people from each country. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just narrow it down to 150. That's 300, 300 plus
Yeah.
contenders. Potential, right? So like, I know I'm very interested to see how this is all going to play out, and not to mention, you have your Dubai CrossFit Championship, which I got pulled up here, Wadapalooza, and let's see, 5 new CrossFit sanctioned competitive events announced. Australian CrossFit Championship, Asia CrossFit Championship, I can't say that. Reykjavik. Yeah, sorry. CrossFit Championship, Down Under CrossFit Championship, Pandaland. CrossFit Challenge, Pandaland. So
Where is that, like Iowa?
Sichuan province.
I was close.
Yep. It's that Idaho, Oklahoma. So I don't know what you guys think about the concept. I like the concept of it all. I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out when you have this many people.
Can I be a spoiler alert? How it's going to play out is Matt Frazier, first place.
Yeah.
Well,
the crazy part is,
but all I'm trying to say is, like, no matter what you do in this format, as long as it's not fitness, for lack of a better term, the fittest will rise to the top, and it'll be.
But the question is like how many people get, like, okay.
I think there's a lot of questions for sure.
For example, let's just pick a Central Asia country out of the mix and just say they send their best 2. Well, their best 2, because of how just their training age or how long they've been doing it, may be equivalent to like the 2008 CrossFit Games.
Oh yeah,
and now,
definitely.
But you know what I mean, though. Like, so are you?
I'm very interested in that too.
Yeah, that's kind of what
I think that what they have kind of said about having that high of participation is they're going to do cuts this year.
Yeah.
So even though you make it to the CrossFit Games, it's going to be like, I was there for one day.
Right.
I got to do 3 events.
It's gonna be like a 4-day thing, right? And I think only the last 2 days are gonna be
top 20 or something like that.
top 20. I think.
So check this out, though. This is as I have the Dubai CrossFit Challenge up here. In an effort to constantly improve and include more athletes from around the world, Dubai CrossFit Championship will introduce the team division. To qualify for the 2019 CrossFit Games, teams will no longer be required to share a common affiliate or train in the same affiliate or location.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what they were already doing. But
Teams may be international in makeup. Qualify the games, team must win a sanctioned competition. The Open will no longer be a pathway for teams to the games.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. So like, but now the cool thing is like, you don't even have to be in the same location.
Right.
You just say, hey, we're all going to meet up on this day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not obviously like a sport like football or a sport that you need plays. It's
right.
Hey, we're gonna do this workout. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty you can plug and play kind of thing. Zach, what was your first CrossFit workout with us, or did you do CrossFit before you found us? What was that experience like, and did it change your kind of definition of fitness?
I had done one workout at like a Saturday workout at CrossFit Soto.
Oh, okay.
And because they're the closest to where I live. They're 5 minutes from my place.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know if you remember when I first started coming here. I had the intentions because I'm huge into YouTube. I don't watch TV, but I'm huge. Yeah. But I was like, I'm gonna start filming my like journey and just to kind of see where I go and stuff. And honestly, the reason why I didn't stay at Soto was they didn't want me filming. Which is hilarious that I did that for like a week, and then I was like, I hate editing. Yeah, like I was like, I love the thought of doing it, and even actually like talking to a camera and stuff doesn't bother me. But like at the sitting down and editing, I was like, this is not for me. So that's what brought me out here. I stopped. I worked pretty close I stopped out, and it was during like a 3:30 workout, and I don't remember who was coaching, but Chris was downstairs, and I talked to him, and it's like this plate, like you guys were all young guys, which is
Good looking.
yeah. I mean,
strong.
I was like
What?
immediately turned on. I mean, no, not at all. But yeah, I don't know. I just really liked the vibe here, and
Yeah, obviously we love having you here, and Katie, whenever she drops in. But, I was kind of leading you on with the question a little bit, because I know we've shared it obviously more than once on the podcast about our first experience with working out, but I always am interested in hearing like how'd that first workout go, and what, that kind of aha moment, and again for me it was like, whoa, I've been doing this kind of wrong, and
right.
And again, the more you know, the more you don't know, and now 9 years later, I'm still finding myself doing CrossFit with different stuff included, that can vary from week to week, but still hitting those workouts like we did a workout the other day where I'm just like, wow, this is still just, it can be very punishing at times, but still, it always gives me more awareness of where I'm at. Like, oh, I've ate like crap today, or whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, my first workout, I don't remember. It was what's the girl workout that's 150 wall balls and
Karen.
Yep, that was what it was. It was me and Marty. It was me and Marty at 6:30, and that was my first day. And it was light Saturday or light people in class. It was just me and him. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my best to keep up with this guy. I was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna try and keep up with him. And like 20 wall balls in, I was like, dying. I was like, because he just kept going, and I was like, all right, let's just keep doing this, and it killed me, and I just remember that whole workout was just sucking wind. If there's one thing that I've learned in the last year and 3 months or whatever that I've been here, it's how to pace myself, because there's those workouts where if you come out the gate quick and it's a 20-minute workout, you're like that the whole time. I can't recover. So yeah.
This was only since we were talking about Waterpalooza. Our Drew Wayman, who we've had on here, is 4th right now.
Oh, is that going on?
Yeah, just the qualifier.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So the fit dude,
real fit.
real humble.
I will say about how I found you guys too was I was looking just in the area close to work, and you guys had only started this podcast like 3 weeks prior.
Oh yeah.
And because I listened to podcasts all day at work, I was like, oh, I'll plug this into it. And I don't remember. I know Colgan was one of the first couple, and maybe Craig or something. It was a couple 6:30 people, and I just was like, oh, it sounds like all these guys do is just make dirty jokes and have fun. I was like, that sounds great to me, and that's the time that I would think about coming anyway. So that was actually,
Well, we
all
talked
comes full circle.
Well, so and the funny part is we just spent a little bit of time talking about the CrossFit Games and these changes. But the exciting part about that is getting back to the root of where the real change happens, which is the other 99% of people. You're still talking about such a small these high level people, even at 350 people.
Yeah,
That's the size of some really large gyms, and there's 16,000 of those gyms, so it's just one of those things where you look at like what the real value is, a lot of this stuff, and that is just your everyday person who has to go to work and has a family and has people they love, and they come here for an hour and then they tell dick jokes and then go home.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where that community I think is being built, and I think that's where hopefully you see a lot of people finding their value, and it's not so much not that the games part of it is important, but I think where most people realistically are just like trying to suck wind through 150 wall balls.
Yeah.
And trying to be better. And Jenny, you just did that class with Jenny Bean Scoop in there. She's like, I'm gonna do. For those of you guys listening, our workout today was 300 double unders throughout the entire workout, right? So, and her big thing is like, I'm gonna do them. Like, I don't care how long it takes. She's like, I've already got people vouching for me at work. Like if I show up late. But her thing was like, I want to improve myself, so I'm gonna take my time and do these double unders. And she didn't have a bad time at all.
Yeah.
I mean, she
killed it.
I mean, for someone who quote struggles with double unders, she rocked right through it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's where the real value comes in is people starting to realize that like, oh, this is real, actual fitness that
Yeah. I mean,
you can achieve.
when I started, I had and still have no real intention to compete. I'm competitive, but with myself. I really don't care what, in all aspects, really.
And competition is relative, right? Whether you are competing against yourself, whether you come and do an internal competition
Right.
with, you know, us in another gym, or, you know, it's just throwing down with somebody on a Saturday and having some actual fun with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I will say that Mike Lee, I give him the hardest time probably out of anybody. We just go back and forth. But he's somebody that he maybe 1 out of 10 times I'll beat him in some workout. But I like talking the most crap to him because I know that he's close enough where like maybe eventually I'll but like I'm not trying to. Every day I'm not coming in like today with the double unders. I was like, I'm just gonna work on some doubles, and when they give out, I'm gonna switch to singles, and then the next round I'll do it again. And if I keep tripping up, then I'll switch to singles.
Brandon wanted me to let you know that he came in second today in workout.
Oh yeah.
Brandon. Oh, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted me to let you know. Tell Mark they came in second.
Brandon from Cross, the new guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like him a lot. He's because he started about exactly a year after I did, and so sometimes I think like, man, I wish I was further ahead than I was. And then the stuff that he is like killing now, I'm like, oh, I remember when I like first started killing that, and like stuff he's struggling with. I'm like, oh man, like I just quit struggling with that like a couple months ago, and I kind of already forgot that was a victory that I had. Like, you know, like. Once I got my first muscle up, I was like, all right, why have I not gotten 10 yet? You know, like...
Because it took me a year to get one.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, but...
I think there's a cliche saying, it's like you overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in 10.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's kind of that consistency and showing up day after day. And it is fun to always have that perspective, especially when you're like, I've only been here a year and, 3 months. And you do see someone come in, like you said, and you're like, oh man, I feel like I haven't made that much progress. And then you're like, oh, well, wait, I can do all these things that this person's struggling with because I was there before. And I think that's like microcosm in life. Like you said, hey, I just started this new job, and maybe at first there may have been 1 or 2 things that's like difficult or not as seamless. And now you're probably like, oh, okay, this is starting to get the hang of it. And then maybe a year from now, someone else will move into a role, and you're like, oh, don't worry. So it kind of gives you that perspective, and
definitely,
it's always super duper important, especially in this day and age, to have perspective, on things. So it's huge.
So Zach, you got your hand, well, not your hand, your mind in a lot of different aspects of fitness. We were talking about the not Eddie Hall, but Brian Shaw, talking about you showed the rower thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where he's rowing a 109 split and stuff like that. What do you think about the world of fitness getting smaller in the sense that like you see people like Brian Shaw like, well, I'm gonna break the world record on a rower.
Right.
I don't think in another time that dude would ever be sitting on a Concept 2 rower.
Right.
Like we just pulled up this Clarence Kennedy guy, like, oh, this guy just cleaned 500 pounds. He looks like he's maybe, I don't know, 94 kilos, as a lifter. Like, I mean, that's wild.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is to do with, like, the training styles have kind of started to intertwine a little bit more than they were in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's plenty of people that are like bodybuilders, I feel like, and powerlifters were always kind of like, sometimes they would do the same things. Like some bodybuilders would emphasize doing heavy deads and heavy squats and stuff, but for the most part, like, they weren't even on the same wavelength. And then CrossFit came in, and it was like, oh, we hate them altogether. Like, it was just like different, and they weren't doing anything like that seemed like it was compatible for bodybuilding and anything. Right. And now, you are getting people that are kind of have their foot in every pool, like it's and it's great, like, because you're not. I mean, I love powerlifting. I probably pay more attention to powerlifting than I do CrossFit stuff, like in terms of competition. But like a lot of those guys, it's crazy that they're squatting 1,000 pounds. But you ask them, to bend down and pick something up, and they might pull something. Like they're
Right.
they're so wound up and so tight a lot of times that like working in some type of, even if it's yoga or CrossFit or something to get
Where it requires some mobility.
and range of motion, like it's when everything isn't so specialized, it's a good thing. Almost
Kind of like
always.
we just talked about that. It's like that perspective where probably the people that are at the highest level are doing the little things like mobility and dialing in their nutrition a little bit better. It's more of this average Joe mentality where like, I'm a powerlifter. And those are the people that are really doing themselves a disservice where they're not even warming up, they're just hopping on the bench and yeah, maybe they can put on a couple plates or whatever the case may be, but they're not looking for the longevity in life. Where this is where I really feel like CrossFit is leading the ways and the average kind of Joe, way or mentality, because we are well-rounded. We can, run down the street and back without, having to take a 10-minute break, and we can pick up things, we can put them over our head, we can, jump and stretch, and, that was for me, because I was the same way, man. Whenever I first stumbled across CrossFit, I was like, this is stupid, and what are these people doing? And at the same time, I was, doing zero cardio, zero warm-up, zero cool-down, lifting heavy weights, not, really doing it the right way. So I think in a lot of ways, yeah, people at the highest level that are probably doing 1,000 pounds and stuff like that are probably have a really regimented training program and they're professionals. But it's more of those people, the weekend warriors that are just going to the gym, that are going to have the back problems and all
Not
these
to mention
things.
if they're training for something, it's different.
Right.
You know, like my training, right? Like if I'm training for meet, is wildly different than if I'm just general GPP.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well, and anybody at the top of their game, whether it's powerlifting, whatever, anybody that has an idea that they can make it to the top or is already at the top, those are the people that are going to make sacrifices.
Yeah, they're not skipping steps.
Yeah, like you said, the people that are just like, oh, I want to start lifting heavy stuff. I was definitely one of those. I didn't necessarily feel like I was beat up until people were like, oh, you get hurt in CrossFit. I came here and got better. I didn't realize how tight I was in a lot of ways until I tried to overhead squat. I was like,
you and me both.
what? Like, you want me to do that? How? This doesn't work. And just, there's a lot of things like that. And where I was like, I didn't realize that my shoulders were so jacked up and my hips were so tight until I came here, started warming up right, and started doing the cool down and mobility and ROMWOD once every couple weeks if I am lucky.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, every time you do, you're like, wow, that was worth it.
oh yeah,
And
definitely.
that helps. Yeah, I think it's, like I said again, not to beat that word up, that perspective of, wow, this is, for me, I was big in the bench and, all the things that the bros are doing in the global gym environment. And I didn't know what I didn't know, like Jared said earlier, about my shoulders and just my body in general. And again, it's like the more you learn, the more you don't know kind of thing. About like nutrition and just a whole kind of fitness as a whole,
Right.
Where you really, everything plays off one another, whether it's sleep and stretching and mobility. And if I want to be this well-rounded athlete, which I think is what kind of CrossFit sells, for lack of a better term, it was, whenever I really dug into it, it was unwavering, like, I need to do this.
Right.
And this is a long-term play.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, it might be cool to like throw, 500 pounds on the bar and pick it up or whatever the case may be at the time. But this isn't a long term.
Right.
This isn't like, 50 years from now, it's really going to matter if I can pick up 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, 50 years from now, it's really going to matter if I can walk up and down the steps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And well, that's one thing. I'm one of the younger people
Sure.
at this gym,
Absolutely.
and I love that because I'm still getting my ass kicked a lot of
Right.
times by these
Well, yeah,
people
you
that are
said
more
Mike
than
Lee.
twice my age. Like,
We won't say his name or else he'll be mad, but he's a little bit older than you.
yeah. But yeah, and I like that. One, it gives me like, oh, I'm younger than them. I should be beating them. Let me get better. Like, there is that in my head, but most of the time it's really just like, oh, they're kicking ass. If I'm doing this starting now, like, I'm definitely going to be doing that when I want to be that cool, like grandpa that can do a muscle up. You know, like
absolutely. I think that's one of the coolest things about the games is when you see the masters divisions and you see, 60-year-old women out there that are grandmas and whatnot with abs. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like doing 15-foot rope climbs. You're like, damn, grandma's ripped.
Yeah. My great grandma, until just a few years ago, she was on her stationary bike and jump roping every single day, and it was just like she had the best like standard of life that I knew, and she was in her mid 80s at the time.
That's
like
fantastic.
And it was just
A lot of it just comes down to moving with purpose.
yeah,
You know.
and consistency.
Yeah,
It's
100% consistency.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So, Mr. Zach, the $1 million question, man. You've listened to all these. Podcast number 69, in case anyone's listening still.
Whoop, whoop.
It's pretty exciting, huh?
makes sense.
Yep. We'll turn the camera off here. So, for you, sir, what is your definition of success?
I kind of wish I didn't listen to these because I've heard everybody's. So like I want to be individual, but everybody's taking them. But I don't know. I think I would just say being able to go to bed each night and feel like I did the best I could in something that I enjoy, and also waking up the next day and thinking that I am ready to get this day started. I'm not dreading getting out of bed. I feel like that. If I can do that every day, or most days at least, and look back, I'll think that I had a pretty successful run of things.
Hell yeah.
Someone already said it. So.
I know, I probably did.
No, that is, but to your point, there's a reason why a lot of these answers are the same, because a lot of the people here have the same view of and again, we're about 70 of these in, and not one person was like making 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's a lot about that self-betterment, self-worth, self-care, and just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and being the best person you possibly can be. So, something you do regularly.
Yeah.
Right.
Try to.
Well, thanks, Zach. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for telling us your gruesome story about getting hit by an old lady.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't happen to anybody else. Thank you all for listening to Triumph Every Day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and everywhere else your favorite podcasts are found. You can find us on TriumphStrength.net, Instagram at TriumphStrength, and Facebook at Facebook.com/TriumphStrength. See you guys next week.
Damn.
Hi.
Zach got it done.